Hello, superhumans. My name is Alyssa Prettyman. This is a self-massage video for low back pain. This is personally one of my favorite releases when my low back gets really cranky, especially after a long car ride or a lot of times sitting in front of the computer or airplanes when we used to go on airplanes. So this is a release for your quadratus lumborum. Now, to do this, I love this ball called the Alpha Ball. It's about the size of one of those oversized tennis balls you can find in the dog toy section of pretty much any store, any pharmacy, the dollar store, Target. So it's about that size. So it's larger than your average size tennis ball because the QL is deep up underneath some layers of stuff in the body. And there are some who would say we can't even impact it. We can't even get in there with a massage ball. But if we can influence and liberate sort of the system around where the QL lives, most of the time, a lot of us will feel some relief if we have a cranky low back. So what you're going to do is you're going to lie down. Now, don't worry if you don't have this ball, because I'm going to give you an alternate thing to do with a more tennis ball size ball or a yoga tune-up ball if this one isn't working for you. So we're going to lie down, knees bent, feet flat. Now the QL attaches your rib cage to your pelvis. So it kind of runs in this little corridor between the back of the ribs and the back of the hips. There's one on each side. It can help us side bend, right? Sometimes we can side bend a little bit, get a feel for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to lie down. We're going to lift the hips, and we're going to see if we can find one side of our low back. I'm on the left side of my low back, which means I'm to the left side of my spinal column. I'm going to put the ball low, but it's not going to be on the bony part of my pelvis. It's going to be on the muscle tissue just above that kind of bony, it feels like a bony plate at the back of the hips. It's just like a large swath of firm bone. So just above that, I'm going to place the ball in the lower left corner of my low back. And then I'm going to see, can I descend the hips to the ground? So where the ball is, you can stay where you are. It's just kind of right there. It's riding that ridge, that crest at the back of my hips. Because if you go closer to the rib edge of it, it can be a little bit more sensitive. Now this is a pretty large ball. So for a lot of us, even just trying to take some deep, steady breaths like this is going to be a little bit challenging. If descending the hips onto the ground is too much, place a little book under your hips so the arc isn't quite as deep. So a little bit of hip support can help here. Now, the other thing I want to show you if you don't have the Alpha Ball, and then we'll get into some techniques, is you can take a block or a book, put that flat a low way underneath your low back, and then put a little ball there. And then see if you can descend the hips off the back edge of the block or the book. The pressure is a little bit more specific, so it can actually be intense in a different way because it's a smaller tool, right? The bigger the massage thing that you use, sometimes the less intense it can be unless it's pushing farther into you. So just see which one of these feels right for you, either a little ball right in the low back there or a larger ball. Now let's talk about some techniques that we can do to start to loosen this zone up. The ball, for the most part, is going to stay in one position, and you're going to do a little bit of stuff around it. The first thing we can do is just sway the knees. And what we're likely going to feel here is a little bit of pressure on, a little bit of pressure off. And we can just stick with this consistent, soothing rocking for as long as it feels good to do so. This is a nice way to loosen up areas that are sensitive. So if we're kind of having a big reaction down here, or we're really kind of clenched up down here, rocking, breathing, just helping the area calm down, maybe where you want to stay for today. Another thing we can do, other than sway the knees side to side, is tuck and untuck the tailbones. Lift and lower the hips And this ball, I know it's kind of hard to see because my shirt is blue, but it's right here. It's right above the back of my hips there. And it's just kind of wiggling its way, kind of nestling its way into the left side of my low back. Okay. So those are two ways we can kind of gently rock the body into the ball and sort of soften the relationship with the ball. Pressure on, pressure off. Another thing we can do is lift the hips slightly. And if you're on a block and the smaller ball, your hips are already slightly lifted. So just push into the floor a little bit and drag the ball towards the side, almost like you're going to pull it out from under you and then pull it back to the middle. And it's almost like you're drawing a little line over the ridge at the back of your pelvis and kind of making a little bit more room there, left to right. See how that feels? That's pretty nice. Another way that we can even start to get a sense if we're on the QL or in the right zone is to have the hips grounded. And this one might be a little bit more tough. If you're elevated on the block, you can try it. But to lift the chest and almost do a side bend, like you're doing a side crunch, and see when I swing my shoulders and head over to the side that I'm working on, do I feel a little muscle engagement into the ball? And for some of us, it's quite pronounced. We feel that muscle engage, and yes, we know we're on it. For some of us, it's a little bit more of a whisper-like sensation. And that is just depending on so many individual variables. So it doesn't mean anything if it's a loud or a soft engagement into the ball. And this would be a contract and relax technique. The muscle works, and then it relaxes with the massage tool there. Okay? All right. Coming back to center. Remove whatever's underneath you. Pause. Take a moment to feel the side of your low back that you worked on and the side of your low back that has yet to come. And just kind of notice the difference. Even try to send a few big breaths deep down into your belly button. Really relax, soften the belly, let the belly move as you breathe. And see if you get any sort of interesting sensory experiences in this region. Nicely done. Let's check in with the other side, and I'll just run through the same series of techniques. So if you remember them, you can shut off the video, or if you want me to talk you through them, it's going to be the same thing on the other side. First, what we're going to do is lift the pelvis up, lift the hips up, put the ball on the other side of your low back. So I'm going to the right side, but depending on what you did first, maybe you're going to the left side. I'm going to put my hips back down, or I'm going to hang my hips off the edge of a block or a book if I'm using the smaller tool. And I'm trying to get into that zone between the back of my ribs and the back of the pelvis. And it's not a huge zone. I think a lot of times in illustrations it's exaggerated. We're going to stay towards the lower end, but I don't want you to feel like you're on the back of your hip bones. I want you to feel like you're in that little muscly bit. It might be a little bit tight or firm muscle, but it's not bone. Right up against the edge there. And just like before, once we take a moment to kind of settle, make sure that we're breathing, we can swing the knees side to side. And if the place that you're in is too intense, you may need to simply move the ball a little bit left or a little bit right and see if that makes it more breathable. Like I said, even if you're not perfectly on the QL, it's not an enormous muscle. There's tremendous benefit from just liberating the region around it, right? You are many interwoven layers. All of your muscles operate within a larger connected system. And so if it feels good, if it feels like it's doing something good for you, it's probably the right place to be. So we swing the knees side to side, we soothe ourselves, we breathe, we rock. You can come back to center, tuck and untuck the tailbone. You'll feel pressure on, pressure off. Maybe we kind of gently reinforce the lumbar curve, especially if you've been kind of hunchy forwardy all day. And then what we can do is lift the pelvis and drag the ball off towards the sideways. So I'm going from sort of close to the spinal column all the way out towards the obliques or the side body. It's almost like I'm trying to spread the low back wider from the middle towards the edge and get a little bit of spaciousness that way. Because we spend so much time rounding forward. The back line gets kind of held in a long position. So we're spreading it wider. See if we can even out what's happening back there. Okay. So coming back to the middle, descend the hips. The last technique that we're going to do is that side bending technique, or contract and relax. So you can put your hands behind your head or put one hand behind your head. But we need to lift up enough just to get some weight off our shoulders so that we can side crunch, come back, and lower down a little bit. Just see if you can feel the ball stays in one place, but we change the muscles that are engaging around it. And so we create a little bit of push-pull against the massage tool from the inside out. Go through a few of those. Remember, the sensation might be subtle. It might be really loud. And you can always try moving the ball around a little bit left to right. If it feels good, it's probably doing good. When you finish with that, remove the ball from that side of your low back. And feel. And breathe. If you have time just to lie down and take big breaths into your belly for 2 minutes, it's not a long amount of time, but you may find that that actually enhances the work that you've done on a cellular level, just kind of helping the body continue to release unnecessary tension. So stay if you can. But that, my friends, is your QL release for low back pain. Oh, my hair's all crazy. All right. Thanks for joining. Alyssa Prettyman, alyssayoga.com. If you need any help getting tools or have sequence requests, just let me know. Have a good one.